digital.com, and then we'll find that video for you. Pomabayo. How did you meet Daniel?
He's my partner now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was funny because I had made 30 grand in my first 6 weeks of deciding to leave the corporate world. So that was back in October of last year. Even though I had done side hustle coaching for a while.
Yep.
And I was super overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Because essentially, hold on one second.
Go for it.
So when I get the link, hold on real quick. When I get the link and I'm on the link, how do I share it to my page? Do I just click share?
Copy and paste it in. Oh yeah, or just share it to your page. Yeah. Or just just share that link across, and it should go live everywhere. And then we'll be live in like 7 places.
Share your profile. Sweet. So let's do this. Yeah. So in the first 6 weeks of my business, I made 30K. And I was super overwhelmed, right? Because I was working with a business coach at the time. So I was all into the manifestation stuff and then didn't realize the cost that it was actually going to put on me and my body, and the overwhelm that kind of comes along with making that much money very quickly because you don't have the systems and structure in place. And you can't necessarily support your clients the way that you thought you could. So I was like, he was doing a live video on flow. And I was like, what is this flow? I need it in my life. And realized he was in Perth. And I reached out to him and I said, hey, can we go have a coffee and have chat about this flow stuff? And he was like, yep, sure. So we had coffee, been talking every day since then, and just really hit it all.
That's amazing. Well, we'll have to talk about that little episode on the show, which we're technically on now, but I haven't done the intro yet. So we'll do the intro and then we'll dig into it because that sounds like a good story. Awesome. Welcome back to the Coaches to the Moon podcast, ladies and gentlemen. I've been away for 2 or 3 weeks, but we are back, and I'm very honored to have Tiana Pomabayo with me today, all the way from Perth, Western Australia. She is coaching high vibe, high achieving women to get rid of anxiety and build unshakable self-confidence. I hope you can do the same for us today. Tiana, thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We had a great story you were telling just then, which I want to get to in just a minute because it sounds fun, about how you kind of blew up your business really quickly and it put you in the weeds. And that is such a great and awful problem at the same time. It's very, very stressful. And I'm kind of in that area right now. We're blowing up and I'm shitting myself, but we'll be okay. But I've got to start. We briefly touched on it in our little chit chat before. I've got to start with your history in restaurants, just because I was in hospitality for about 13 years. And so I'd love to just ask you, what did you learn from your sort of 5 years in the restaurant industry that you now can use in your own business?
There's so much that comes from the restaurant industry, I think, because you learn how to quickly build relationships with people. You learn how to talk to people without being nervous, and the whole customer service thing, which I think a lot of people are missing, surprisingly. Like, to me, it just came so natural, and especially being from the States, most of the places over there were table service, and so you would get tipped on how good you were. And so I think what I took away from the restaurant space is, just the customer service. But I also moved into management, so I learned the business side of things as well, and managing the team, and being able to work quickly, because when you're thrown a problem, it's like, you got to come up with a solution, and then bam, it's there. Like, you learn how to manage the team and manage that flow of energy.
Yeah, you can't sit down and do a 45-minute Zoom meeting and an email chain about what to do. It's like, in the moment, chef cut his finger off. What do we do?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, goodness me. We've all had our share of problems. It's funny, when I came, do you have a team now in your coaching business?
I do, yeah.
How are you finding managing a team in this kind of online business space versus kind of an offline, fast-paced restaurant space?
What's the deal? Well, I think moving from the space of where I was at, it's much more brain focused, right? So back then it was like serving and making sure the food came out all right, and you manage the team that way, and it's quick. But in the coaching industry, and I think we're moving into a space, especially since 2020, is that everyone's on their computers and working from home. So I think managing a team now, it's very much about online communication and building that rapport online. But I actually love it. Like it's good to have people around and have that high energy and high vibe in the restaurant industry. But I think for me, it's more of a creative space now. Like I have a copywriter that I work with, and it's like a constant back and forth of just creative energy. And he lives in, I don't know, Russia somewhere. So it's so cool to have people from all over the world and be able to accumulate talent on that level.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I think there's a lot of complaints to make about everything being online. However, the beauty of it is we wouldn't have met. I probably wouldn't have met 64 out of the 65 guests I've had on my podcast. Most of my clients, none of my team are all in the Philippines, and I love them to bits. And goodness me, I think it's an absolute, it's just about using it right, isn't it? It's about being not just being a consumer and being sucked in by the online space. It's by utilizing it and the good points of it rather than the bad. It's a big one.
Yeah. And I think you're able to discern who's right for you and who's not. So if you're very clear on what you want in your team, then it's fairly easy to choose that. Like you just zoom into that person, right? You manifest that person, and then they're on top of it. It's the people who don't know what they want in a team, and that's where it tends to get a bit lost. I've been there before. Like my first VA I hired, she was horrible, to be honest. She was feeding me things that I didn't need, but it was because I didn't know what I needed.
Yeah, it's all part of it. Let's talk about that, because knowing what you want and having those kind of boundaries and confidence is a massive thing, a massive part of what you do. And you've got this great story of growing up and really outwardly having this great life with the marriage and the car and everything and the job, but you weren't confident. You were always kind of putting other people first, making excuses for other people's bad behavior. And so many beginner coaches tend to fall into that pattern as well with their clients and with their team. How do we identify if we're being a real people pleaser and if that's negatively affecting our business? And then what do we do about it?
That there's different layers to that, right? Because once you're being in the service industry, you learn how to please people anyway. That starts from birth, because usually people tell you what you're feeling or what you're thinking isn't real or isn't true. And so I think when that really started to change for me is when I realized that I was in control of my own life, really, because I was in that victim mindset, like everything is happening to me instead of I'm creating my reality. And it was when I saw the dreaded drama triangle, where there's
what, sorry?
It's called the dreaded drama triangle.
Dreaded drama?
Yeah, the dreaded drama triangle. And that's what really changed my life, because there's 3 points to it. The bottom of it, right, there's a triangle. The bottom of it is victim. The left-hand side of it is persecutor, and the right-hand side of it is savior. And so I realized that what I would do is actually keep people in their victim space. So it was whether it was my children or whether it was my partner or, my clients, I would save them, and then I would get pissed off and I would persecute them, right? So not only would I stay in victim mode and I would constantly be in like this moody space because I was constantly fixing problems. And then you move up into, okay, well, I can actually stop picking up their stuff, have them fix their own problems. And the way that I can help them is actually hold them accountable and coach them. So I can challenge them and I can coach them, and that will make them a creator of their own life.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty big, and I guess it takes a lot of confidence to come to that realization, right? That even though people are paying us to help them, what we're doing is not helping them by just trying to make them happy, because they're not happy, and that's why they're here. It's a difficult one, isn't it? Okay, sweet. So I know that when I was starting out, and I know that you've had a good career before you started coaching as well. So you've dealt with a lot of people, you know, in lots of different industries. I know when I was starting out in the coaching space, I was so kind of just do anything to get these clients on board. Two things were happening. One, I was bringing on the wrong clients, which caused more trouble than they were worth. And two, I would kind of just think I was giving them, I would try and just over deliver, but just with my own time and just kind of doing late night phone calls and this, you know, doing whatever they needed to fit their schedule and their beliefs and everything. And none of them got very good results. Why do you think that was?
Why didn't they get results? It was, well, if you're not getting the right clients, right? So
yeah, when I was delivering, you know, over and above for everyone, just texting them all the time, phone calls all the time, kind of letting them go on the payment plans they wanted, everything that they needed, and they were not getting results.
Yeah. And I think in that space, right, you tend to create that codependent relationship with your own clients. So instead of holding them accountable, saying, well, what do you want? And how do you get there? And then, you know, you actually, like, I'm going to coach you to hold yourself accountable. So that way, eventually, you won't even have to spend money with me anymore. You're just flying to the moon because this is what you chose to do, right? And I get that so often, like, why aren't you holding me accountable? And I'm like, because in a space where you want to be, let's say, because I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, let's say you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to move up in the space of your career, that takes self-leadership. No one is there to guide you or direct you. And we're grown up in a space where, you know, we grow up in school and then we're given grades and we're given what to do. We are taught not to think for ourselves and not to hold ourselves accountable. So if you want to get something done or you have a goal that you want to hit, then you need to get to the space where you're self-motivated. And like you said, if you're a coach and all you're thinking is about, oh, I need the money, which we all need the money, right? But if you're not thinking about, okay, well, what kind of co-creation do I want to create? Because it's partly me and partly them. What transformation do I want to make? And then how do I hold them accountable for investing in themselves? Because I know a lot of coaches that will coach for free. And what happens then is that the people will take the free advice and basically throw it in the trash because they weren't invested in it. So that's the space where, you know, like, yeah, I work with high achievers, but I also work on business plans and getting their core offers figured out, because when you come from that space and you're so clear about who you want to work with, that transformation technically occurs because, one, they invested in themselves, and two, you've already made up your mind of what that transformation, and they've made up their mind about what that transformation is going to be. So then you're both invested in that transformation. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, yeah, cool. It does. I'm trying to be aware to not jump in and answer things too quickly, because I've noticed I often do that. I often do that and don't think about what I'm going to say. But one thing you mentioned in there that I was really interested to talk about is why it's so important to have that clear offer, you know, to bring in the right people. And I know that we're both in the marketing space as well. You do marketing and branding. And yeah, let's talk about that. In your business in general, but let's keep it to the coaching space. In your coaching business, I talk to a lot of people. What do you do in your business? Well, I kind of do this and this and this, and I help people cover NLP, and I do hypnotherapy, and I kind of do one-on-one packages and sessions and retreats. And blah, blah, blah. Why is it so important for people to be able to clarify their offer in one sentence? Or do you believe it is?
I actually don't believe that, because it's funny. Like I actually had a conversation with a girl the other day, and it's less about purpose. Well, you do have to have clarity around what you're offering, right? So, you know, the reason why they don't have clarity is because they're trying to be all the things to all the people, right? They're trying to fix all of the problems in the world, and they probably could. but it's the difference between being like a surgeon compared to a general practitioner, right? The surgeon is going to get paid heaps more than the general practitioner because they're a specialist in something. And so when I work with people, we do work on the core offers, but we get down to the core of who they are and what their story was and what that looks like and what their purpose here is on this planet. Because that's when you're talking from that space, you don't need an elevator pitch, right? It's so ingrained in who you are that when somebody asks you what you do, you pull on their heartstrings as opposed to projecting this thing about what you do. It's like, this is what I do and this is how powerful it is. And you might want it too. And then they get in that space with you. So whether there is a point where you do have to condense it because some people are just so multifaceted that they can talk forever, right? So you have to help them condense it. But to condense it to one sentence all the time is sometimes impossible. Yeah, so that's my thought process on it.
Awesome. So it's about where it's coming from more than how you just state it. And I suppose you can state it differently to anyone depending on what they need as well. I mean, you yourself, you've got so many different skills under your belt. You've got your NLP and your hypnotherapy and your TLT and your marketing and branding. They're all coming from the same place though, right? They're all coming from your story and how you weren't happy and now you are. And now you can people. So do you believe that? Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, from a coaching space, you often see the coaches marketing the modality when it's less about the modality and more about the transformation and who they're transforming.
Yeah. We talk about this a lot in when I'm working in the kind of consulting newer coaches on their marketing. You don't sell a holiday to Bali by telling people what kind of plane they're on. You know, you sell the poolside, you sell the cocktails, you sell all that kind of thing. And so many people are doing that because we put so much energy and investment into learning the things we know. But unfortunately, our clients don't care because they don't know what it is, right? And they want the result. So you've actually, let's talk about that. You've got so many different skills under your belt, and this might be a tough question, but NLP, timeline therapy, hypnotherapy, marketing, branding. What skill do you think has been most impactful on you growing that business really quickly?
An authentic clarity about who I am and what I want to provide. So I think a lot of people come into the marketing space and think that they have to find their target demographic outside of them. And especially in the coaching space, it's more about who you are, what your story is, and what kind of transformation you made so that you can guide people along the way. So when I finally got clarity on who I was and what I wanted to provide for the world, that's when things really, really started to take off. So I personally invested $20,000 into my own business coach. Had $700 in the bank, rent due the next week, had no idea what I was doing. So I had that fire under my ass, don't get me wrong. But I think it was the fact that I was clear on what I was offering. We got the core offer done. I knew exactly who I was talking to because I had had clients before. So we built the offer off of that. And then we used organic strategy. And still to this day, I'll take organic strategy over paid strategy any day. Because it's quick, it's authentic, and it's like you're directly building relationships with the people that you care about.
Yeah, I think I had the conversation a lot, paid versus organic. Basically, for me, I had really a lot of my business model stemmed from how completely fucked my life was when I first had twins. When you've got two twin newborn babies in the house, and like for 3 months in a row, you're just kind of sleeping in 3-hour shifts, that kind of thing. And it was just absolute nightmare. And so much of my business model became about how little time can I spend on my computer and how can I do things. How can I have things be consistent and predictable? So paid marketing came in there, and that's basically, if people can handle organic and handle a great business organically, they should absolutely do that. And I know so many coaches like yourself who can do that. A lot of people hit a level where they're not able to do it anymore. And that's why we're like, yeah, do some paid. We can help you with that. Organic's great. What are your kind of main styles of organic marketing that you're doing at the moment?
Main styles?
Yeah, what are you doing? Do you do webinars? Do you do just like the bunch of...
I don't. I do everything totally different. I want to do the least amount of work possible. So I'm not saying that this is right, but this is how I've gotten all my clients. You can always do more to get more. So that's one of the things that I always talk about with people is when I first started off, right, I made that 30,000, I realized how much was possible. And my goal was to hit 3 million in 1 year. Now, although I could have done that, I actually had to take a step back and say, actually, what is this about? What do I actually want? Do I actually want the $3 million? Do I care about the $3 million? Because I have 2 kids myself, right? So I don't do more. I set myself up, like I get this amount of clients, I hit those targets, and then I'm done. I let up because I will always be driving if I don't. And I think you made a good point, Alex, is you do get to the point where you're like, okay, organic strategy is great, but actually I want to spend less time in my business, and you want to start automating things. So I'm at the point now where that's why I actually hired a team. So let's talk about flow space for a second, right? So my flow space was not sitting on a computer 20 hours a day. My flow space is actually coaching people on building connections and finding their purpose and expressing that through a brand. That's my focus area. And we do a lot of internal work on the confidence side of things, because if you don't have the confidence and self-belief, you can't make it to that spot, right? So I don't do any of the webinars, even though I've been told to. All I literally do is focus on, what do I want to tell people today? What would be of most value? And then I throw that on my personal page, because my business page doesn't get seen. Let's talk about the algorithms, right? Because Facebook wants you to spend money with them. So your business page isn't getting seen. So I use, my personal page, and then I do, the organic outreach. And I always tell people that it's less about making the money for me, and it's more about the connection. So anytime I reach out to people, it's an authentic connection, and people can feel that. I actually really do care about people. And that's why I sign people into my program, because I want to see them flourish. And then when they get to the point where they're actually making capital to where they can invest in funnels and ads, I send them to people like yourself, to where, because a lot of business coaches will teach, hey, like, you need to do this all yourself. You have to do all the funnels yourself. And then you get burnt out because it's not your flow space. So and then I hand them over to you, and you get to talk about building funnels and putting that into a sales page, and how you actually put that into ads, because a lot of people don't want to know that.
Yeah, it's funny, flow space, isn't it? How everyone's got similar goals come out of a coaching business, and business coaches and everyone will say this is the one true way, but certain things just don't work for people. And for me, making organic content every day doesn't work for me, really. I'm not a massive fan of doing big long written posts and stuff like that. And I've seen your page, you do such great stuff, you get such great engagement. When I post something, it's just like crickets on my one. And so probably because my heart's not in it. So this podcast basically has become my sole source of organic content, because I talk to people like yourself. We get ideas from you and other experts, really, really cool things like that dreaded drama triangle. I'm going to make an animated video out of that and everything. And then that's my content done for the week, from having a conversation. This is my flow space, talking to cool people like you. So that's very, very, but I've never really thought of it that way. So it's very cool.
And I love that. I love that you just said that, Alex, because everyone does their content differently. And that's what I dislike about the business coaching industry right now, is that everyone coaches the same thing, and that they all think that they're doing the right thing. When both me and you know that there's so many outlets for expression and getting clients, right? There's YouTube, there's TikTok, there's Instagram, there's Facebook, there's Google ads. But if you don't have that core message right, then none of it's going to work. And if you don't like doing the thing in the first place, you're never going to end up doing it. So then there's procrastination. So you might as well find something you like doing. It's like working out, right? Some people like to work out in a gym, and some people actually like to work out by swimming. And so you have to fall in love with what you're doing in order to get it done. And both you and I get clients, but we do it different ways.
Yeah. Have you ever tried running? Have you ever gone for a run? It's a freaking nightmare. Oh my God.
I used to like running, and then I hit like 35 and my knees are like, what the hell? I'm like, I'm not that old. Come on.
Our knees are older than we are, I swear. Far out. I tried, like, all my friends got into running, and I was like, I'll get into running. Everyone's running these days. And I got the app and everything. And then I'll come back angry from every run. Like, this is, hate this shit. So I want to finish off by bringing it back to the story you told us at the beginning, which was when you first started your business. You just blew up 30 grand really, really quickly. And then you were in trouble because you didn't have the systems in place to deal with that amount of delivery, basically. What did you implement, and what has been, one or two things that have been super helpful to systemize your business and allow you to scale it to a bigger level?
So systems in place is one. Like, I had to have the systems in place. So internal CRM, making sure I keep up with the clients that are in the program, making sure I do my internal marketing to keep them excited all throughout the program, having the space or the capacity to hire out and being okay with it. So like I said, getting clarity on who you need and what you need them for, because they're not going to know if you don't know. And there was one thing that I was going to say that came up to me first of mind, evolution. So self-leadership, right? You have to have the leadership skills in order to delegate to your team and to hold them accountable in a way that controls the structure and not the people. And so if you get them so excited about your vision, having that clear vision of what the difference in the world that you're going to make and the impact, that your team will then be excited to contribute to that. Because once you're a solopreneur and you make it as a solopreneur and you start to build a team, it's less about you doing the work and more about them doing the work. So you need to make that transition to open up to be able to hold the space for your team so that your team can then hold space for your clients.
Wow. What a soundbite. I love it. Mm-hmm. I love when we get quotes like that. That's huge because it's so true. So true. I've got 3 people on my team now. I feel like I always bring it back to me when you say something, but I think
No, that's good. That's how we riff.
Yeah. I've got and my team knows this at the moment as well. I brought in a new lady to kind of fill a space that isn't really there yet. So we have room to move into it. And so she's taken over half of one of my other assistants' jobs. And now they're both kind of not got a full-time job yet. And it's a bit kind of gray area, a bit messy. What do I do today? And I've said to them, be patient with me. I'm working out these systems as we go. I'm filling them up. Here's stuff you can never do if there's nothing to do. Like, learn this, read this. And I'm fully in that right now, where I've got messages coming from all over. Like, they're all doing different things. And we talked about it yesterday. I was like, you've got to give me a little bit of time to systemize this. And we're doing that now. Just like you said, controlling the structure and not the people, controlling structure, flow charts and spreadsheets and documents and stuff I've never done before. And it's really cool. It feels like
isn't it cool though, is that when you make the commitment to grow your business, or you see a vision of what you want to accomplish, that you end up becoming the person that you always wanted to be by it's not about the goal, it's about the process of becoming. And I love that.
Yes. I couldn't think of a better sentence to leave it on, Tiana. It's not about the goal, it's about the process of becoming. That's hectic. Thank you so much
thanks for having me.
Those insights. No worries. And those insights are awesome. And I'm really excited. I don't really know how we found each other. I think I cold added you, one of those.
Yeah.
And here we are. So cold DMs can work every now and then if you're not trying to sell something.
Yeah. It's about the relationship. And trust me, like, it will end up in a sale some way, somehow, because people that know people, and we work on different capacities. So it's all, that's why I say it's all about the connection and not necessarily about the sale right away.
There you go. Start a podcast, 65 new, very close friends. I'm super excited. Thank you so, so much. I wanted to talk about the Circle Leadership Project, but I've got to keep it to the 30-minute slot. And I feel like that's something I don't want to skip over. I want to talk about it properly. So we'll put some links in the bio and everything. Send me everything about it. I'm really excited to learn about that as well. So Tiana, once again, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
No worries. Everyone listening live or on the recording, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. We're going to be back with more consistent podcasts now. I'll see you on Thursday for another episode of Coaches to the Moon. Until then,